Today we have a wonderful family that has come in to share some things that have come true for them, and it's been a remarkable journey for all of us. And I would like to introduce the beautiful mother. Her name is Linda, and her lovely daughter, Kristen. And we met about 5 years ago at their home, and I said some things to the family, and it's all happened to come true. And since this is the Lenten season, and Easter is almost upon us, if you are someone that does follow Christianity, not everyone does, but if you do follow Christianity, you know that Easter is the resurrection, and Easter is the portal that opens up our eternal life. And for me to have met this wonderful family, and I think I brought back your grandmother, Emily, is that correct? Mm-hmm. And Emily is your lovely mother-in-law. Mm-hmm. And Emily told me some things that have come to be true, and I think one of the first things I said was that you would be connected to someone named Matthew from Winter Street in Saugus, and maybe you could segue into that for me.
Okay, well, Matt and I had just begun dating, and Linnea asked me, who is Matt? And I said, I know a couple Matts. She said, well, Matt on Winter Street. And I said, I don't know. I thought at the time he lived on Stalker Street, so I was very surprised to find out that Matt on Winter Street was the man I was dating, and you told me I would marry him and we would be soulmates. And, you know, when you're first into dating, you're like, oh, okay. And it was true.
You married each other, and what was the year that you got married?
In 2009.
All right. Now, I think I also saw a location, and I gave the location to you. And I said, you know, I think that might be a place that you might decide to live. And you were like, well, we're not really sure. So what happened after that?
We bought a house in Peabody, exactly where you told us we would buy a house. Okay. You told us in November of '08 we'd buy that house, and we bought that house in January of 2009.
Right. Now I think I was invited to see you again, and I came to the new home, very lovely. You've done a beautiful job.
Thank you.
And I walked in, and I asked you if you had a nursery. And you were like, well, no. And I said, well, I think you're going to need a nursery. I said, because there's a beautiful baby girl coming before September 16th. Now, I didn't know, what is September 16th?
That is my birthday.
And what happened after the prediction?
Well, my due date was the 19th, and I had Skyla on September 8th. So I had my baby by my birthday, just like you told me.
A baby girl. And the other the joyful thing is that I see, you know, your beautiful family periodically. And I think that the first night that I met your dad, you know, when this is a new venue for people, they're open to it and they kind of hesitate. But there was something that I shared with him, and I still remember it, because we were in the kitchen and the curtains were drawn, and you live kind of close to the beach, am I correct? And a very lovely woman, Emily, began to talk to me, your Nana. And I said to your father, I said, you know, she's showing me this wrought iron post, and it has a box on it, and it's winterized. And I said, I'm seeing crowns that you wear. And I remember your father became very, naturally, very overcome, and you took me out to the deck. And we walked down to the backyard, and there's a huge post, and there's a winterized box, and what's inside the box?
The crowns from, is it Graham's wedding, right?
Right.
The Greek crowns.
The Greek crowns that you wear on your head, connected when you get married in the Greek church. And they're very symbolic. They're kept locked in a box, one on the bride, one on the groom, and they even get disconnected if one dies before the other for burial, so they're very symbolic.
And I think your husband was joyful, because he said to me, you couldn't know that.
No,
you're not Greek, you don't know that, you couldn't know that. So I think that was a turning point for all of us.
It was proof for him, because he's skeptical.
Right,
you made him a believer.
Of course, and you know, I understand that, and the beauty of this is if you are told something, and it is true, and I couldn't know it, then you know it's the person on the other side that's trying to say to you, guess what? I watch over you with light and love. I'm with you. I'm always there. Now, we had the pleasure of seeing each other over the summer, I think in June. And, you know, we were talking. You came to see me in my office. And, you know, I was marveling at the baby. She's absolutely beautiful. And I said to you, were you hoping for more children? And you were like, well, yeah, at some point. And I think I said to you there'd be a baby coming before August of this summer. And maybe you could share some.
Well, I laughed again because I didn't think it would happen so soon. And after some doctor's visits, we found out the reason I was feeling so sick earlier in that beginning of the winter, end of fall, was that I was pregnant, and my due date is the end of July. And we are expecting a baby.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know I'm going to say this because I know it to be true, but I feel that you will always be as happy as you are today. I think you have a wonderful connection with him. I think he's your soulmate. And I think to see this beautiful journey unfold for me is very rewarding for me. And like I said to the wonderful staff at SCTV, I have to thank all of you for helping me get my message out there. When you walked in with her today, you know, I'm looking at her because here she is in the flesh, and I'm looking at her, and I said it, and it was from your grandmother from the other side. And now maybe your beautiful mom, maybe you can share some things that have come true with our journey.
Sure. Well, there was a few details about the wedding, too, that we didn't mention.
Okay.
When you told her about Matt, you said midnight. You said that midnight would be an important time. And actually, he proposed to her, and midnight was at New Year's Eve.
Yep. Okay, how beautiful.
And that their wedding would be in August, which was only a few months later. When we went to where they wanted to get married in Nahant, because that's where they had, I think, their first date, the wedding hall was only available the first weekend in August. Okay. So they married in Nahant the first weekend in August, just as you had predicted. So the whole thing, and even the honeymoon.
Yeah, you told us Aruba, and I said, no, I want to do a cruise. We're not going to do Aruba. And we chose Aruba by just default, pretty much. We wanted a place that you could get an airplane non-direct, or direct non-stop, and that's how we got Aruba. Okay. So you knew it, we didn't.
Okay. And it's really wonderful that you both have kept your notes over the years, because I find the notes to be a running commentary. And you can look at them and refer to certain things, and you did have some notes that you wanted to share?
Yes, I do. Actually, I taped every single session we had together, and notes. And I love listening to the tapes. There's so many things that come about that you don't realize it. So the very first time I met you was at our home about 5 years ago. I had lost my brother, and that's really who I really hoped to have a connection with. And I did immediately. You held his hat in your hand, and you said, "How the hell are you?" And that's exactly what my brother would have said. He's kind of like a funny guy.
Earthy, funny guy.
Very funny guy. Okay. And you had mentioned a lock of hair. Well, first of all, you mentioned Derry, New Hampshire, right off the bat. That's where he lived, and that's where he died.
Sorry.
He was very young. He was 47.
Okay.
You mentioned a lock of his hair, and it just so happens we did have a lock of his hair. My mother does have it. She hasn't yet put it into a locket, as you had said that he would requested it, but it was really really hit home. Also, my father, who died young, was up there with him, and you mentioned Jack, which is my dad, and that they were together. But you mentioned something else very important to my sister, that she had Dad's license plate, and she has Dad's license plate on her car still.
Okay.
And that's since 1981.
Okay.
So that was like, brought the whole family, all my brothers, you know, they was just like crazy. They couldn't believe that. And you also said, my brother was talking, that you have my voice. And I do have his voice, because he had left a message on the answer machine, and I saved the tape.
Okay.
And so that was really another clue. And that he was with my Aunt Mary from Russell Street, Peabody.
Right.
And my Aunt Mary had passed, and she did live on Russell Street. So it went on and on. I just couldn't get over how many things when I looked back. And you had said a couple of things to my husband, which were really unbelievable. My husband's family, his cousin, had an accident in 1970 at Pride's Crossing, Beverly, and you mentioned the accident and the date. You also mentioned that someone died in the car, and that my husband, Jimmy, was supposed to be there. And you knew that because Emily was talking.
Right.
And Emily said, thank God he wasn't there. And who would know that there was an accident in 1970 at Pride's Crossing in Beverly, and who was in the car, and that he shouldn't have, that he would have been there, but he wasn't. I mean, these things really, it was just really incredible. And you yelled out, Buddy the dog.
Okay.
which is Kristen's dog, Buddy.
Oh, the little pug.
The pug.
Yeah.
She has a pug.
My
Because
first
that was the loved ones coming through to us.
Okay.
Because how would you know we had Buddy the dog? The pug was upstairs.
Okay.
And you immediately read a poem, and the poem was "Do not stand at my grave and weep."
Right.
And that was a poem that was written on a prayer card at my brother's. There was several prayer cards, but that was one of them.
Okay.
And I thought that was just really something else. And he said something about a barbecue. He loved to barbecue.
Okay.
So it was just came over and over and over. Showed his birthday, showed my father, with him. They mentioned my father's name, Jack. My father's name was John, but his nickname was Jack.
Okay.
And you said Jack. So it's just like incredible for all those things. And you did mention a pink blanket and 3 babies born in the family back to back.
Right.
You told us by March of 2011 that there would be Irish triplets.
Okay.
And in June of 2010 was the first baby, Jaden. September was Skyla, and then finishing off the trio was Madeline in March.
She turns a year old on Monday.
Right.
She does.
They all just came right along. And these are things that these kids weren't even with boyfriends. It was just incredible. You mentioned the footprints in the footprint prayer, which didn't mean anything to me at the time.
Right.
And you mentioned my brother Frankie, love to Frankie. When I mentioned to Frankie that Johnny had mentioned him, and they had mentioned the footprint prayer, Frankie said, "Come here." He brought me over. He has a little shrine with all footprint stuff and all things of my brother in a glass case. So that was the footprint was meant directly for Frankie, and I brought that to him. And you told me at the time, I don't know if you call them apports or apports, that I would receive a couple of apports. I received them smack the next morning. Something from Bruce Springsteen, you said. My brother loved Bruce Springsteen, and he loved the song Born in the USA.
Right.
In the morning, when I turned my radio over to get ready in the morning, it was playing.
Born in the USA.
Yep.
Okay.
Plus, when I got home in the afternoon, you said he'd send me a butterfly. The mail had been taken in, and it was on the countertop. On top of the mail was this, Mariah Carey.
The song
Butterfly.
right.
Butterfly. I've carried it in my wallet since, because it's been almost 5 years. Because, I mean, it was just sent the next day with the other, so it was just really so incredible.
Did it bring you, and I always ask this because this is something that's very special and important to me, did it bring you and your family comfort to make the connections? Did it help you?
Oh, that's one thing I wanted to say to you. Not only myself, but everybody that I have brought to you in this had readings has told me that the comfort is better than grief counseling, is better than anything on earth. It's so relaxing. For me to know that my brother was okay, there is a connection, that all those people are okay.
And that they're not really gone. They're just,
it's very peaceful.
Them, but they're here.
And it's relaxing.
Well, thank you. And the other premise, and I'm always very, very sincere, I have to say where my gift comes from. I cannot deny it. I have to tell everyone. And the thing is, I do get my gift from God, and I do feel it comes from Christ. And the thing is, I understand if you don't know who He is. I realize that, but once you know who He is, once you know what He promises you, and here you are sitting here saying, guess what? This is what she told us. Guess what? This is what came true, but it doesn't come from me. It comes through me, and I'm just the messenger. And it's not an easy job, trust me, it's not. And this week is very, very special for me because Tuesday will be the date of my birth, and I miss my mother. I miss her because your mother and your birthday are so synonymous, and I can't do the mediumship for myself. So when I can bring you, and I can bring you, and you can show everything, then I know that the ones I'm loving and missing are in glory with yours, and it does bring a comfort level, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, it really does.
Doesn't it?
It's very peaceful. And I also have a guardian angel story. You had told me at another reading that my apport would be a guardian angel.
Right.
And I'm a visiting nurse.
Okay.
And the next day I visited a patient, and she had looked like a little angel hanging on her doorknob. So I said, "Oh, is that a guardian angel?" She said, "Oh, no, come on in." When I went in, she had a table filled with all sorts of guardian angels.
Right.
And it was like, wow. I mean, that was just it happened immediately, and to visit the next day.
Right.
So what you're saying is true. I really get immediate
Results.
Oh, yeah. It's usually like the next day after we visit.
And I need to ask you, too, how did you feel? How did the family feel when you found out that the baby was on the way? Well, you had to be thrilled.
Oh, yes. It was just really something else.
It was a shock,
Yeah.
certainly.
The first one, and then the second
Very
baby,
exciting.
because she had gone to the doctors and they didn't
We
think
were
she was.
told no so many
Yeah, they told us she
times.
wasn't pregnant. We went off to Disney. We had a nice vacation. She came back, and then the next time she went, and I said, "Wow, all along you were."
I told them I was.
Well, the thing
Nobody
is, too,
believed me.
if you look in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and if you look in the Bible in the New Testament, it's very clear. And what it says in the Bible, and it's completely a quotation, that if someone can tell you something, and it is true, or it does come true, then that gift is coming directly channeled from the people on the other side. It's coming from the eternal life. And I try to say that the earthly life, what this is temporary. And what a miracle to have your first baby here, and now your second beautiful baby is coming. And maybe now we could bring the little angel girl, maybe we could bring her and introduce her. So we'll just ask them if they can have Skylar come in.
Okay.
And she's 18 months old.
She is.
How beautiful.
She is.
All right, great. And we'll just bring her. And I'd like to introduce to our viewing audience a very beautiful baby that has come to visit us today with her lovely Nana and her beautiful mom. And I'd like to present to you baby Skylar, and she's sitting right here, absolutely adorable. A prediction, hi sweetheart, an absolutely beautiful prediction from her great-grandmother Emily. And I would just ask you to look at her. I would just ask you to look at this beautiful, shining little face. And it's another example of a prophecy that has come true to a beautiful family, that this baby wasn't here 18 months ago, and now she walks the earth plane. And you had a couple of other things you wanted to share. Why don't you do that?
I did. Back in November of 2007, you did a reading for my husband and his mother and father.
Right.
And the two letters MM kept coming up, and you said, well, they're connected to babies. There's going to be Irish twins very soon, and the names, the letters M and M are connected. Well, at Christmas dinner, his cousins Marcy and Melanie, so there's the two M's,
Right.
announced that they were both pregnant and expecting babies 2 weeks apart the following summer.
How beautiful.
And
they're
those
here
babies,
now?
they will be 4 years old in July and August.
Wow.
That was very exciting. And I want to talk about an apport that I received. You had told me my grandmother came through and said I would get Cinderella's slippers.
Okay.
I was thinking, all right, we'll see. Let's see how that goes. And about 2 or 3 days later, I was saying goodbye to one of my students, as I taught preschool at the time. And she said, hold on, I have something for you.
Okay.
And she's fishing through her backpack and pulled this out. And it is a picture of Cinderella's slippers. And I said, well, what's this? And she goes, it's Cinderella's slippers. You said you like Cinderella. And I said, oh, my goodness.
So you got an apport.
I did right
That's it,
away,
right
very,
there.
very soon. Oh, you want to
An
stand up?
apport is a gift they usually get from the other side, and oftentimes I might tell you about something. In this instance, I think the baby was the biggest apport of all.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
definitely.
And you seem to get, you got your butterfly from Mariah Carey, you got your Cinderella slippers, and I would say that, just to look at her and to just see.
She's just going to dance.
She loves the camera. I'm just going to say that
You going to dance?
it makes me
Oh, yay.
very happy, because when I do tell you something and you are kind enough and wonderful enough to share it with everyone, it's very overwhelming for me to see her, because she wasn't here, and I was given the gift to tell you that she would be. And she is here, a shining example of a prophecy that comes true. And I have to ask you, to have anything else that you want to add? Is there anything else you would like to say?
Well, I know my husband was very impressed when his father gave him a riddle, which is the riddle of the Sphinx.
Right.
And that's only something between him and his father. I never even heard of it before.
Okay.
So when you had told him about the riddle of the Sphinx, he was just so impressed that his dad
Came back.
was there with him. And it's just, he just can't talk enough about you.
Well, thank you so much. And again, I think we're very happily showing you, look at her, the glory that we do have, knowing that the soul is eternal, and that your mother-in-law, your wonderful brother, your father, come back to show us that they continue on watching over us with light and love. And thank you. Today we have a wonderful guest who's come to share some things with us. And we had met through an event, I think, about a year ago. It'll be about a year ago, right about this time of the year. And some wonderful things came through, and I think they came from your husband.
Yes.
And your husband was trying to communicate from the spirit world to you. It had been a very trying and difficult time, of course. And I think some of the things that he shared with us have come to be, and I think that that has shown your family, particularly your youngest son. How old is he?
He's 13
He's
now.
13. And one of the things that I think I mentioned when I first met you was that your husband was trying to talk to the little one, and he was telling him to be strong, which he is, and he mentioned a silver memento, some kind of coin, and he showed me the Tasmanian devil, and the Tasmanian devil has a connection to the two of them. You were going to explain they had T-shirts with
Yeah,
that?
they always had T-shirts. Chad had work T-shirts made with the Tasmanian devil, and he had a Tasmanian devil that CJ put on the front of his Jeep.
Okay.
So
So that was a symbol that
lot of
was,
yes.
the symbol has a strong meaning. And then your husband was showing me the year of your son's birth, and he said, I'm going to send him something silver, and it will have his year of birth on it. Now maybe you can explain about that.
Okay, a few months after we met, we were going through some of Chad's things, and instantly my son CJ picked up this coin, and he's like, oh, it has the Tasmanian devil. And he's like, Mom, it has my year of birth.
Okay.
So it brought a lot of comfort to CJ. I never had told him you said, you know, he was going to get this coin or this memento.
There it is.
Yep.
So I think to find that randomly, while the two of you were together, and you knew about it, but the young man didn't. So for you to say to him, guess what? Dad was mentioning this, and a few months later he finds it. Now you did say that there was a connection to the number 22 for you, and I had mentioned that. Can you explain that?
Well, both of my children were born on the 22nd. One was March, one was October. And
Okay.
just for some reason it always comes up in my life. Not only that, in my wax, I do those wax readings.
Right.
The number 22 came up through very strong. That was one of the first things you mentioned about my
Okay.
wax. So like I said, it's both of my son's birthdays, and it's always meant something to CJ. When he plays on sports teams, he always picks the number 22.
Okay.
So it had a huge
Symbolism.
to
Okay.
little Chad.
Now, there are some other things that you found as you went through your notes. Do you want to share some of them? Okay.
My husband, as you know, it was very tragic. There was a court case.
Right.
You told me that some legal things were going to happen in February, and I thought to myself, oh, February, I know it's going to happen in June. It's scheduled for June, and well, with continuances and the way things happen, it did happen in June, and you know, justice was served for my husband in the courts in February, like you predicted.
All right, and the thing is that I think he's been guiding you and standing with you strong to help you, because naturally that kind of journey is very difficult. And I'm sure for the children involved, your wonderful older son, his wonderful older son, and then your child together, this had to be a journey that you, I think, took together, and I think your husband was trying to tell you he was walking with you every step of the way. Now, I think I did mention about a brother around your younger boy. Can you explain that?
You told me that my younger son would find his brother. I'm thinking, well, but Chad did have another son who my younger son did not know about.
Okay.
So after Chad died, I had to tell, you know, little CJ about this brother, and they have a great relationship now. And
that's a spiritual connection, but also a family connection. I'm going to say that I think your husband on the other side would want that for the older boy to meet the younger boy, because there's a bond there. They have the same father.
Yeah, Chad and his older son didn't have a great relationship, and it's brought in Jared, his older son, a lot of peace to have a relationship with his younger brother, and he feels a part of.
Special.
Yeah.
Special. Now, there was something very interesting that happened, and I walked into this event probably about 6 to 8 months ago, and it was a very nice group of women. And I went to one of the ladies first, and a very lovely lady, you know, very pretty face, beautiful eyes. And I said to her, where's your mother? And she said, well, my mother's in spirit. And I said, well, she's singing happy birthday. And it turned out, she said, tonight would have been my mother's 90th birthday, I think, or close to that.
Close to that, yeah.
So I asked her, I said, are you trying to reach anyone else? And she was a little hesitant. I think she was a little nervous about the whole situation, and that's fine. Well, I told her some other things, and she actually had to leave a little bit early. She said, I need to leave by 11. And she left. As soon as she left, I'm looking at the other women in the room, and I said, actually, they're asking me to tell her about Chad McDonald and Bennett Street in Lynn. And everyone started screaming. They said that was his mother-in-law. The woman that just left, that's Chad's mother-in-law. Now, it was kind of comical because I didn't get that until after your mother left. Right. Now, I shared that with you. I shared that with
Chad would have waited until my mother left.
Okay. It's kind of just a little A little ironic, but
Yes.
it's just when
He would want it because he would know that her friends would tell her. So,
That's it.
so when you ever told me that, I'm like, oh my God, that's so true.
because I called you the next day, I think I emailed
Yeah.
you too, and I said, I need to talk to you. And you were like, you know what? That was my husband being
It
funny.
was.
And to me, to have his sense of humor come through so ardently, and even the other people in the room are like, oh my gosh, he waited till she was in the car and she was leaving. And I think your mother appreciated that.
Oh my God, she so did.
She did.
Yeah, her friend, those women got together afterwards, and and my mother was not a believer. She was very sitting there. She was just like, no, this isn't true. This isn't. But no, now she's just like, wow.
Yeah. So I think sometimes too, when
It
you
did
do,
bring my mother peace, absolutely.
I'm sure it did, and I
I think she had to, think
Experience
about
it.
it and
Right.
walk away from. She's very like that, but yeah, now
now she knows. And the other thing is, did you have some other things that have happened a little more recently? What about the lotus blossom? I had seen that.
Yep, you had seen a lotus blossom, and I looked it up after I saw you, and it meant new beginnings. And I had been trying to think of something for a tattoo, and I'm like, well, that's a great thing. And I did get a tattoo of a lotus.
So that was important. And has anything more recently happened since you have seen me? Because I think I saw you in October.
You had talked about Epping, New Hampshire,
Right.
And Chad's ashes. Now, when me and Chad first met, we used to go to Epping. Epping is where the New England Dragway is. And
Okay.
for years, Chad always said if anything ever happened to him, he wanted to be buried or have his ashes spread where people could do like car burnouts on top of him.
Right.
So you talked about Epping. I had another friend who died, and they were doing this burnout thing in Epping at the Dragway. So
Right.
me and little Chad brought some of Chad's ashes and spread them on the Dragway.
Okay. And I have to say, too, that, I feel that there is a reason that they come back to speak to us, and I feel that they want you to know that they are a source of empowerment. And I'm going to say that I think this experience, this journey that you've made with your children and with you, I think he has been maybe orchestrating some of the things that have happened, and I think you feel him around you. And I think as I said to your young son, I said, your father is always with you. And I think he agrees. He said, you know what, I can feel my dad around me. I feel that strength. And do you have anything else that you want to share that you thought was kind of important that maybe the listening audience and the viewing audience would want to know?
You talk about him being around us, and you talked about the lights in my house.
Okay.
And he turns the lights on and off and sends me signs. We have orbs and pictures,
Yes.
tons of pictures with orbs.
Okay, and the orbs are like the little...
They're like speckles.
speckles.
And some of them are actually round, and you can see like bubbles in
Okay.
the picture.
And that's him.
So, yeah.
And I have to say, you're a beautiful young woman. You have your whole life ahead of you, of course. And I would say that he would want you to start the new beginning. He would want you to be empowered with what you've done and the things you have together, and you have the beautiful children, a connection to you, a connection to him, and I would say that he would want you to go forward. And I think since I saw you in October, since all the criminal justice things have been solidified and since justice was served, and you won. You won, and there is some comfort in that, to know that, you know what, you came in, the truth came out, everyone set the record straight, and I'm going to say now that the dust is beginning to settle, there is a sense of peace and a sense of comfort because his voice was heard, and you were his voice. Yep. You were there every day. You watched what was going on. You participated in this, and instead of a victim, you are the victor. You are the victor. And in this country, we have a beautiful sense of democracy until until proven guilty. And you know what? The system served the purpose, and now I think you can take that victory and you can incorporate that as you walk through the rest of your life. And I think that there is a sense of achievement when that happens. And no, it doesn't change what happened, but you know what? You stood up, you faced it, you did it, and I'm going to say you're a soldier, and your sons are soldiers. And I'm going to say that I think there is some comfort in knowing that, you know what? A wrong was righted. We got our day in court, and justice was served.
I believe justice on earth, like that, him going to jail. And, But I believe that even after, because he might not have got as long as I would have liked, but I believe that justice will be served spiritually as well. Because God knows what he did and saw his motives.
Right. And there is something called karma, and I often mention karma. Oh, all right. Oh my gosh, you have that? Is that a new tattoo?
I got it after I got the lotus tattoo.
Okay.
It just means a lot to me.
Right.
I believe in good karma and bad karma.
Right.
So I believe if you put positive energy out into the world, you get positive energy back.
Right.
So it doesn't just everyone's like, oh, karma is bad, or
karma is a very good thing. Karma is a very good thing, because if you understand the universal law of the universe, when you give out good, good comes back. When you don't give out good, and you know some people don't, unfortunately, what you reap you sow. So I'm going to say that you're teaching your sons that. They're already learning it. And you did everything the right way, and you did everything in the proper time span. And I want to ask you, did some of the things that your wonderful husband told you, did they bring some comfort to you?
Yes, absolutely. Your gift brought me so much peace. Like you, I've heard you say before, you know, people say it's better than counseling, or it just brought, it made me feel so much better and at peace for such a tragic thing that happened, you know, in my life. So
I
yeah,
know that. I'm so sorry, because I wish I could take us back. I wish I could bring us back and I could fix it. I wish I could. And my gift, luckily, I'm able to tell somebody something from the other side. They're showing me a picture. They're showing me something. And then when it comes to be true, and I have to say that, you know, when your little one found that, he had to say to you, Mom, it's got my year of birth on it. And it was random. It wasn't like somebody went out and bought it for him. He had it. Your husband knew that. Do you dream of your husband?
I
do you dream?
You told me that. You tell me that every time, and he
dreams.
does. I used to dream of him, and he would be far. I would just, you know, like he would be in the room.
Right.
And recently, he's been talking to me, which has been huge for me because I can hear his voice in my dreams.
Okay.
So it's like he touches me, and you told me that he touches me in my, when I sleep. So yeah.
Do you keep a dream log?
I try to. I wasn't dreaming all that good, and someone told me to write down my dreams when I wake up because then it would be fresh in my mind. But yeah, after he started talking to me in my dreams, I started keeping more of a dream log, so I would remember.
This is really wonderful. He's actually talking to me right now.
Is he?
He's talking to me right now, and he's very proud, naturally, of everything. He's telling me that you're going to write a book about this.
You told me that.
He says you will. He says you're going to write a book about this, and I'm seeing a nonprofit. So I'm going to say that I think when some time has gone by, because it's still very new and it's very, very heart-wrenching, I'm going to say that you and your wonderful boys are going to put something together. It could be a nonprofit for victims. It could be a fund that helps victims going through similar situations. And I'm going to say that he's showing me the phrase, gone but not forgotten. So I'm going to take that.
We write that everywhere.
Okay. So he says, gone but not forgotten. So I'm going to say that I think the book that the three of you, your three boys and you, are going to put together will be a compilation of his life, some of the things he's done, and then the legacy, because I'm getting the very strong feeling that you and the boys would want something good to come out of this. Just something good that you can say, yes, this happened, but look what we did. Look what we put together in his legacy. Look what we did, and it will last forever. It will go on and on and on. So I hope that I helped you.
You did, Linnea. I can't thank you enough.
Well, I can't thank you enough because you came in today. And again, the Saugus Community Television staff, they're incredible. They're programming, they do every aspect of our lives. But for them to concentrate on this and to give us the airtime to show everyone that, guess what? He came back, he said a lot of things, he's still there, and I don't think he's ever going to leave. So thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.